Today we're doing a high skin fade. We're going to start with our trimmers and make a trimmer line. This way we are only making one major line to get out. I'm doing the same thing on the other side. And what we're going to do is after this point, we are going to go up with our trimmers. So that way the cutting blade is not going against the head. It'll take it nice and short and we'll be ready to go in with the rest of our fade. As you see, we are taking this point around the rest of the head, going up with our trimmers to not use the cutting blade against the skin, rather the stationary blade. This will stop you from getting any irritation and from scratching up the client's head. I'm sorry, you will see in just a minute or so, I will turn the chair so you can see better. I wasn't aware that I was in the camera angle. From this point here, the stylist had asked that I do one side starting with blending from a 0 once we do our trimmer line. On the other side, I did choose a different fade style to show them more versatile ways to do the cut. And basically what you want to do is you're going to start in little 1/4 inch sections. You're going to go up every time you change your guard by just about a 1/4 inch. Now we're going in and cutting up to where his hard part's going to be. We started with a 2, but it was still a little long, so we're going to go in with a 1.5 and take that nice and short so that way we can see his hard part well and there's not a bunch of little hairs sticking up. We're going down with the clippers here to make sure that we got all those little extra hairs. Now what we're doing is going in with a 1/2 guard and just kind of scooping out to get in between that 1/2 and 1.5, or sorry, that 1/2 and that 1. If you notice when I'm getting this line out, I'm not going straight up and down with my clippers, rather on an angle, so that way I can be in control of what part of the teeth are actually hitting the head. Now we're going in with our trimmers and just getting rid of that trimmer line. Now as you see with the foil razor, I am going in with both sets of foils. That way we're getting a smooth and consistent transition. We're going up and down in small areas, making sure to feel for smoothness. I generally use my pointer finger to keep underneath the bottom foil, so that way I can feel as I'm going up and down. You can kind of see it more a little bit there. Here you can visualize me explaining to the stylist how to get that line out. We're not going to go all the way up to our trimmer line with our foil razor. Rather, we're going to go right underneath it, so that way we have about 1/8 of an inch area to smooth out that line. The way we're going to smooth out that line is we are actually going to go down with the foil razor. When you go down, right there, as you visualize, we are taking thickness out as opposed to taking length off. Now I'm just going through, cleaning up his front line. In a second, I'll let him down and do his hard part. The reason I'm going to wet them down is so that way all of those long hairs are out of the way and I'm not compromising my top area. Nobody likes when their top area gets cut into, because then you are taking away from their length and moving too far their part. There we go. There, we're wetting them down. That water bottle did not stop. Here I'm just putting in his trimmer line. Unfortunately, you can't see it very well. Talking through as make a thin line to start. You can always make it bigger. You just can't take and put the hair back. So always be conservative when you're making a hard part. Okay, as you saw on the first side, we blended from a 0 up. Now we're gonna blend from a 2 down. We're gonna make sure that we keep the clippers straight off the head. We don't curve in, because then we are taking away from the hair on the top. He has a colic sticking up in the back there, and we are going to cut that down to a 2. That way it lays nicely for him, and he doesn't have to worry about it sticking up when he styles his hair. He is going to start growing out the top, so as you'll see in a minute, we're just gonna take a very, very light trim off of the top. Now we're going in with a 1.5 guard, keeping that 1.5 guard about a 1/4 inch lower than where we put the 2, so that way we can blend in between the 1.5 and the 2 if we need to. Going down to a number 1 guard, again about a 1/4 inch lower than our 1.5, so that again we can open that up and blend very nicely in there. Once again, you see I really don't go up and down very often. It is more on an angle, so that way I can control what teeth are hitting the head and at what angle they are hitting the head. We want to be very fluid and keep going, keep moving, because you don't want to get to a point where it is higher in one section because you're not moving with the head. Please don't forget to grab your fade brush. Fade brushes are a beautiful thing. They help so that way you are not going in and continuing to cut places that are already cut. They just have some loose hair on them. As you can see, there's a light trimmer line, so we're going to go in and take that out. We're going again on the angles so that way you can determine which teeth are hitting the head and which are not. You can see that line start to melt away nicely. Alicia so nicely went and got me a clipper comb. We're going in and taking our foil razor, once again keeping that finger underneath so I can feel for smoothness. It doesn't compromise the cutting of the blades at all, it just helps me. Around that little curve of the head, we're going to make sure that we are getting it at all angles. You don't have to push hard at all. With the foil razor, the harder you push, you're going to damage your foils that cover up those blades, and there's a better chance of hurting somebody with it. Please remember, these are sharp tools. You just need to use them responsibly. Now we're going to go in, fade brush once again, clean everything up, make sure there's no extra hair sitting on the head that makes it look like it's unfaded. We're going to go in here with the trimmers Once again, in the back there, just make sure we have that nice progression. In those smaller areas, we're going to do trimmer over comb just to make sure that we have all those short hairs nice and taken in with the shape of the head. It's okay for small areas. Do not use that as your main source of blending. You are not going to be consistent every swipe. So it's very important that you go in and do it in just small working areas. Now we're going in clipper over comb from guide to guide so that you don't overcut or create holes. Generally saying you don't want to go straight across, which you'll see in a minute. I do go straight across. The reason that I'm doing this is because I am moving the whole time. I am not stopping and just making one big cut. I am going with the curve of his head. I am making sure that we are not dipping in. We are taking his bangs over. He does have a colic on that right side. So we're just going to take it down a little bit in order to stay consistent. Just going in and wetting him down, making sure that we're fully saturated. You will notice I do point cut the most of the top, and that's to add texture to the haircut so it doesn't lay so stagnant. With the top, once again, we're going guide to guide. We're only taking off anywhere from an 1/8 to 1/4 inch. We don't want to take a lot. He really does want to start growing it out and go back into more of a man bun type style. You'll see here just in a second that we talk about the angles at which you cut and over direction. We don't want to take that point off because of the fact that he wants to start growing it out and he needs that length. As you can see, when I pull up the right side, it's about 1/4 inch shorter than his left side. The reason that is because he's been wearing it as a comb over. So we're gonna let that start to grow out. Eventually we will be cutting up to his colic area once he grows out, probably another haircut or so. But right now he can style it the way that he has been styling it without compromising too much of his length. Now we're going in cross-checking, making sure that we have everything taken in and there are no points or valleys, no peaks or valleys for us today. Going in, making sure we're pulling it back the way he's going to be styling it. A little bit of scissor over comb because again, we already went in with our clippers. We know that 99% of it is already blended in. We can see it goes over nicely. Thank you all for watching. I hope that you learned a lot. Any further questions, feel free to reach out.